It took one switch inside the cockpit to erase a Boeing 777 from civilian radar. The aircraft kept flying for 6 more hours. 239 people were aboard. The tracking systems that should have prevented this had a known vulnerability. The technology to close it existed before the flight departed. It was never required. This is not a story about what happened aboard Malaysia Airlines Flight 370. It is a story about the gap in the system that made the disappearance possible. MH370 departed Kuala Lumpur at 12:41 a.m. on March 8, 2014, bound for Beijing. 239 passengers and crew, a routine overnight crossing. At 1:19 a.m., the cockpit made its final voice contact with air traffic control. "Good night, Malaysian 370. 2 minutes later, the transponder stopped transmitting. The aircraft disappeared from civilian radar and deviated from its planned route. It turned west, flew back across the Malay Peninsula, then continued northwest before turning south. Malaysian military radar captured parts of this deviation, but the data was not analyzed in real time. At the time, no one on the military side was looking for a missing airliner on a westbound heading. The aircraft reached the limit of radar coverage and continued into open ocean. For the next 6 hours, it was effectively invisible to every tracking system designed to follow it. But one system kept responding. The aircraft's satellite communication terminal continued answering automated handshake requests from an Inmarsat satellite. These were not GPS positions, they were timing pings. Each one established how far the aircraft was from the satellite, not where it was, how far. Using the Doppler shift of those signals, analysts determined the aircraft had turned south into the Indian Ocean. But the data defined an arc, not a point, a curved band of possible positions stretching across millions of square kilometers of open water. The final handshake came at 8:19 a.m., nearly 7 hours after departure. Somewhere along that arc, the aircraft ran out of fuel and entered the ocean. Finding it required knowing where on the arc to search. The data could narrow, but it could not specify. The difference between an arc and a point is the reason the aircraft has not been found. The underwater search became the largest in aviation history. It covered over 120,000 square kilometers of the southern Indian Ocean floor. The terrain had barely been mapped before the search began. Volcanic ridges, deep trenches, and abyssal plains made sonar scanning slow and unreliable. The search cost over $200 million. It found nothing. Debris did surface. In July 2015, a wing fragment confirmed as MH370 washed ashore on Reunion Island, east of Madagascar. Over 30 additional fragments were found across the Indian Ocean rim in the years that followed. The debris confirmed the aircraft entered the water. It could not confirm where. Drift modeling worked backward from the fragment locations but produced probability zones, not coordinates. The ocean gave back pieces. It did not give back the wreckage. The vulnerability that made MH370 possible was not a surprise. The transponder, which broadcasts an aircraft's identity and position to civilian radar, can be switched off from the cockpit. ASARS, the aircraft's automated data reporting system, can be disabled. Over oceans, where radar coverage does not exist, aircraft positions depend on reports generated by systems the flight crew can shut down. Proposals for tamper-resistant tracking and real-time satellite position reporting existed before 2014. They had been discussed at the international level. They were not mandated. After MH370, new requirements were introduced. 15-minute position reporting over oceans, improved flight recorder battery life, deployable recorders on some new aircraft, but real-time, continuous, tamper-proof tracking of commercial aircraft is still not universally required. The gap that made MH370 possible has been narrowed. It has not been closed. 239 people boarded a routine overnight flight. Their families have waited over 12 years. No main wreckage has been located. No flight recorder has been recovered. A new search phase has been proposed. Whether it proceeds depends on further narrowing the arc. The case does not endure because of conspiracy theories. It does not endure because the mystery is entertaining. It endures because 239 people are still missing. And the system that lost them has still not been fully redesigned to ensure it cannot lose them again.